Every time we turn around, there's another attack on disability rights. There are even recycled challenges with new twists. It's exhausting, I really have to tell you, and there's no good excuse for it. So we have to remain vigilant and fight back. So I'm Annette Bourbonnier from Nothing Without Us. I am a 70-ish-year-old woman with dark-rimmed eyeglasses and wearing a black sweater and sitting in a power wheelchair. Please take the time to free subscribe if you've not already done so. Give me a like, make some comments, share this podcast. And by the way, I do read all the comments. If you remember, just before the 2024 election, the state of Texas filed a lawsuit against then Health and Human Services Secretary Becerra to abolish the disability rights protected by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. Texas at that time was joined by 16 other states. The lawsuit initially used the trans community as a weapon to dismantle civil rights protections for people with disabilities because a rule included gender dysphoria as a covered disability. However, the real claim was that both Section 504 and the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, were unconstitutional. That suit was eventually dropped because under the new Secretary of HHS, RFK Jr., the inclusion of gender dysphoria was dropped. But that didn't fix it. Now Texas and 8 other states, Alaska, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Missouri, Louisiana, Montana, and South Dakota have renewed their attack on Section 504 and the Olmstead decision because of the integration mandate, which is a requirement under Section 504 and the ADA, allowing people with disabilities to receive care in the community rather than in institutions. The Olmstead decision upheld this mandate in 1999. But nobody's given up on it, unfortunately. So Texas and the other states are saying that Medicaid rules favor institutional and medical model care, and that it has always paid for care through a medical and institutional model, not through a community-based model. Now, that's not really true, but do you hear that we've always done it that way excuse? Right. That is what we're dealing with. So the rule that was finalized under President Biden adds a mandate for integration, and this lawsuit considers providing community-based care an imposition on their rights. This lawsuit also claims, falsely I might add, that the discrimination only exists if a person is already institutionalized, while the final rule states that it is discrimination if a person with a disability is at risk of being institutionalization. That's right. Kill us before you try to save us is sort of what that's saying. So when you look at the entire complaint, it really doesn't seem to be a matter of money. The states can't really use that as an excuse because it's been proven many times over that community-based care costs less than institutionalization. Private companies that own nursing homes charge for room and food alongside medical care. So they do make money on taking care of people with disabilities. I love being a transaction, don't you? So home and community-based care does not. So there is no way people living at home get to, collect on that, but Medicaid doesn't have to pay it either. So it is not a matter of money. Simple math will tell you that it costs less to be at home. Really, I'm sure of that. So what is really behind this? It could be that giant corporations are putting pressure on states to institutionalize so that they can profit. That can be part of it, but I think there's even more to it. There are a lot of hidden agendas and sometimes not so hidden, to these underlying disability policies. We've talked, underlying all these disability policies, excuse me. We've talked before about the ugly laws that were not ended until 1975, that required people who were maimed or disfigured, that's the language people used to use for disabilities, should not be seen in public. If such a person were in public, they would be asked to leave if someone complained about them. And if they did not leave voluntarily, they could be arrested for being in public with a disability. Yeah, that's real. It really happened. And institutionalization is another way of controlling us, not allowing us to be visible in the community. Who wants to see that? Yeah, right. So institutionalization is another way of guaranteeing we live in poverty, because that's another one of the controls that, the powers that be seem to have over us. Many of our laws and policies require that now. Putting us in institutions would solidify that requirement. We are a large part of the population, and giving us rights is just plain inconvenient for them, not for us. So people who think this way do not realize that if we're living in the community, we're working, volunteering, shopping, dining out, going to concerts, and doing all the other things people do is good for the economy. Because basic economics will tell you that spending money is an economic driver. If we are working, we will pay taxes. And even if we're unable to work or work full time, when we spend money, other people work and they pay taxes. And those people spend money too, so more people will work, etc., etc. That's called the multiplier effect, and it's real. So institutionalization makes sure that we are not seen as a value to our communities. And sadly, institutionalization leads to early deaths. Ah, there it is. Eugenics raising its ugly head again. Yep. It's another way to control us is get rid of us. So to be perfectly clear, this lawsuit has nothing whatsoever to do with saving money. It is about power and control, and we cannot let this happen. If you know anyone who lives in any of these states, and I will list them in the notes so you can reference these states, please have them write to their attorney general and to their governor and ask them to oppose this lawsuit. If you know anyone in any civil rights organization, ask them to write an amicus brief in opposition to this lawsuit. Talk about it. Make sure that what they are doing is not hidden. Shine a light on this. Make some noise about it. If these states lose their case, they will bring it to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and that's a court that's not known for supporting civil rights of any kind. It will then end up in the Supreme Court, again, a dicey move. They've not been strong on civil rights either, at least not lately, but we need to keep on trying. If this lawsuit wins at any level, we're cooked. It will be far more difficult for anyone with a disability to assert their civil rights, to live independent and fulfilling lives in their communities, with their families, with their friends, with their jobs, with their social circle. I mean, really and truly, isn't that what everybody wants to do? So taking that away from us is a bad thing, a very bad thing. This year is the year for the midterm elections. For Rhode Island, that means it's the year of all of our state legislators and senators, and the governor, secretary of state, treasurer, attorney general are all elected as well. If we want change, we need to inform all of them that they work for us. They are our employees. We need to tell them who we are and what we need to make life fair for us. We need elected officials who will listen to us, and we need to tell them what will work and that what will work for us will benefit the state as well. So let's make sure everyone who is running in the midterm and state elections knows something about disability, about the problems we face, about policies that need to be reinforced or changed. So in the spirit of the late Alice Wong and her associates Greg Barrington and Andrew Polrang, let's keep Crip the Vote alive. Use that hashtag on social media to make our voices heard. So it is hashtag Crip the Vote. Okay. I will run a Crip the Vote sub-series on this podcast for everyone running in Rhode Island and maybe Massachusetts if people request them, to come and talk about disability issues and policies. This includes those running for election or re-election in Congress, Senate, governor, legislature, local races, all of the ones that are running. So during the 2024 election, I had a pretty decent response to requesting participation from office holders and candidates. I hope for the same or better in 2026. I was really new then. So now, as listeners to Nothing Without Us, you can participate in this. Let me know, who do you want to hear from? What do you want them to know? What questions do you want answered? And you can let me know if you want to join me in that interview and information session. We can make it happen remotely or in person if they're meeting in person. So Nothing Without Us should be a place for many voices to be heard. While I think I'm pretty in touch with all the disability issues, I'm sure some of you will think of things that I do not. And if this is to be a lively community, then you need to have a seat at this table. So it's through empowering ourselves that we will be able to protect our rights. So let's do it. So tell me in the comments who you want to hear from, what questions you want asked or issues discussed. And if you want to join in this interview, let's make all of our voices heard. So thank you for listening. I'm Annette from Nothing Without Us. Please free subscribe to this podcast. You will have access to all the regular and important episodes. You can also make comments, and I do read them all, I promise. And it helps me if you give me likes and share. So tell your friends. While basic subscriptions are free, there are benefits to paid memberships, including early access to some postings, special postings that are only available to paid members, and a monthly live episode to those on the activist tier. My goal is to make this a lively community where voices will be heard. You can now purchase memberships on an annual basis rather than just on a monthly basis, and you can gift a membership to someone else. So tell your friends they can find this podcast at patreon.com/nothingwithoutus, on YouTube and Spotify. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. My God, I sound like, all right, I am there. That's the way it is. That's what you got to do to get this word out. So until the next Nothing Without Us, I'm Annette.